Hi, I'm rickdior, and today we're going to do part 4 of my Brazilian rhythm series. So this is going to be all about Bossa Nova. And Bossa Nova literally means new trend. So in the 1960s, Bossa Nova became very popular in the United States. I'm sure most of you have heard the Jobim, Stan Getz recordings, Girl from Ipanema, all these records he did that became incredibly popular and award-winning in this country in the 60s. But Bossa Nova, like all these rhythms, started in Brazil. And a lot of people there called it apartment samba because it was something that you could play quietly inside when samba was just so loud and boisterous and being played in carnival and a lot of pop music. You know, it was just a loud rhythm with lots of percussion. Bossa Nova was much, much quieter, and it became an actual drum set rhythm. So it's kind of a fusion between jazz and samba. Let's think of it like that. And it's a little bit slower, so Bossa Nova can be very, very slow. You can actually play ballads with it, and it can be even be a little quicker, sort of like a samba, but there are some big differences. The main one being it's a lot lighter. So you want to play your bass drum pretty straight and not accented and a little light, so like this. So think of it like a heartbeat, and where samba was a little more aggressive. Bossa Nova is more like this. So it's quiet, it's gentle. I leave my foot almost all the way down on my bass drum. I lift it just a little bit. That gives me a little more of an anchoring, and I don't need to play accents, so I can leave it a little farther down. So you'll notice that. Also, the hi-hat, I'm leaving pretty closed even when I play these opens. So again, it's mostly heel down. Now for this video, I'm using some different cymbals, really only these hi-hats, which are Paiste 13-inch traditionals, very light. And then I'm using this old K from the 50s, just because the cymbals are lighter and the music's lighter. Now I'm still using this flat ride because it's perfect for Bossa Nova. So try to think of yourself as a percussionist when you're playing this rhythm. Nothing sticks out too much. A lot of times you'll be playing with a guitar player and they'll play these figures with you. And you just need to blend in, almost be invisible. Just create a support system for the rest of the group. Now, any jazz gig you play, really, a theater gig, an orchestra gig, you're going to play tons of bossa novas. It's really the most common type of Brazilian rhythm you'll play in the United States. So it's used in all kinds of, theater productions. Like I said, symphony gigs, I do that all the time. We play all kinds of bossa nova. So today we're going to go over some different ways to play bossa nova in my book. But before we do that, I'm going to show you some ways to play it with shakers. So I have a number of shakers here, and I use that a lot when I play bossa nova, and even samba. So. Bossa Nova is slower, so it's going to be very, very difficult to play this evenly. So the motion I'm using is this back and forth kind of arm motion like this. If I want to do an accent, I come up. So I'm coming up with my arm like this. If I want to play fast, I just use my wrist. Now, there's a good deal of coordination that goes into learning this. It's much different than playing with a stick, so it's going to be a little frustrating. You're going to have to practice this a lot. I have lots of shakers that I use, but these are the 4 that I use the most for this kind of music. So this is a very lightweight plastic shaker. This is a heavier metal shaker that's much fuller in sound. And if I want a lot of shaker sound, I'll use this heavy metal shaker. So. Now, I would definitely suggest getting that going and practice some coordination exercises. The rhythms on page 7 and 8 of my book work great for that. And you just do those with your left hand. And play double time as well. Because that's another special coordination skill. So let's go over some of these rhythms in my book. We'll start out with just a garden variety Bossa Nova. And by that I mean just a bossa that you can play pretty much in any setting, and it works. So a good tempo for this is around 142. And again, these can go from really slow to, half note equals 100. So sometimes when you play a ballad bossa nova, and we'll go over this in a second, you'll use a brush, so like this. So we're going to keep all this stuff in mind as we do these rhythms in my book, and I'm going to play some of these rhythms with a brush, with a stick. So this first one, though, does work well at kind of a medium tempo. So let's do 142. And we'll get the hi-hat going so you can see that. So you see that open. And now we're going to do a little variation, which is under it. Now I'm playing these things a little bit louder than I normally would today so you can hear everything. Sometimes I might use a rod like this. So that gives a much lighter, kind of transparent sound. Now, if that click is too much, where it might be, you can use two rods and just do the click with the rod. So that sound is much less piercing than that crossroom click. So. Now you can leave your snares on or off. Right now they're on, but off is fine as well. So I prefer the little bit of brightness that the snares on give my bass drum and my click. So it just gives a little treble. It's like a little treble control. But if a bass player is playing acoustic and he's right next to you and the snares are buzzing, feel free to turn those snares off. But we'll leave them on for today. So remember to use different implements, brushes, rods. They work really well. So this next one, we're going to change up our feet. So now the hi-hat is going to be on 2 and 4. And the good tempo for this is about the same, well, a little faster. We'll do about 150. So that's kind of a medium up bossa nova. Now you can also change your feet where you're doing this pattern. And that's really difficult at this tempo. So let's try that. So that's another option with your feet. Now the next one should go pretty slow. 136 is a good tempo for this, anywhere around 130 to 140 is good because you're doing some double time stuff on the cymbal. So like this. Every time you click, you do a double on the cymbal. And the hi-hat's a little different as well. That's doing this. So let's try that. Now this is a good one to do with the shaker. So since that hi-hat's on upbeats, it catches that last shaker hit. So. That's all I'm doing, okay? But again, coordination-wise, it's tricky. Now, the next one uses a brush flutter. So you're doing this. So you're fluttering the brush on the rim and pressing down. Pressing, and then it flutters. So you could play it any number of ways. You can, every time you hit the rim, you could play a flutter. Or you could flutter in between like this. Now let's do a tempo on this. I think about the same tempo would work, 136. Now the hi-hat's a little different as well, so. So you see those flutters. And you can play that faster. Which is really effective. The other thing you can do is like a Wiro pattern, which is this. So lots of different kinds of scraping noises. And when you're close mic'd in the studio, that sounds really good. So that's my little primer on playing Bossa Nova. And it looks easy, but it's actually really difficult to play at this slow tempo evenly. And a lot of times you got to play lightly. So we'll just play a little and we'll see you next time.